if you enjoyed this kind of video, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more, and check out my channel because I have other content there as well. Let's begin. The first thing that I want to talk about is the new Overwatch 2 Season 9 update. This is about a week into it coming out, and I just wanted to talk about some of the changes that have been made and what I think about them. So, the first change that I think has a lot of people up in arms is the changes to the hitboxes. So, if you're not familiar, Overwatch 2 is a first-person shooter that is heavily accuracy dependent. So there's no aim assist, at least on mouse and keyboard. So you have to be able to hit your shots and aim properly. So a lot of people are upset because in the most recent patch, Blizzard said that accuracy numbers are not high enough, and so they wanted to make some changes to make them a little bit higher. But they said that they wanted to keep the high-paced movement of the game, because Overwatch 2 is also a very heavy movement game where certain characters have the ability to move very quickly, which are hard to track. So they said that in order to make accuracy higher without changing the speed of the game, they were going to make the hitboxes bigger, which, if you're not familiar, means that now your bullets or your projectiles have a bigger box around them so that it is easier to hit your targets. This has caused a lot of people to be very upset, saying that the game is getting easier and that they're just pandering to casual players. I personally have played a lot since the new update, and I think that it is very, very helpful for lower rank players and doesn't change the game very much at all for higher rank players. Higher rank players already had insanely high accuracy, so changing the hitboxes doesn't really change that much. But for lower rank players, this means that you can now count on your teammates to do a little bit more, and helps alleviate a little bit of the gap between people that can utilize really high skill and people who cannot track them. I know this makes this game easier, but if they were going to do anything to make the game easier and more approachable to more people, I think this was the right route. If you're still really bad at the game, this isn't going to make you amazing by any means, but it makes certain characters more playable for the general audience. And that brings me to my next point. They changed the health of a lot of characters, every character. So before in Overwatch, the default health for most characters was 200 HP, and they would give you more or less health depending on your hitboxes and your mobility. So if you were really tiny and could move really fast, they'd give you less health. Or if you were really slow and kind of big, they'd give you more health to make up for it. But what they realized is that this meant that you had to have burst healing or burst damage. So if you were able to do 200 HP in like an instant, like with Widowmaker or Hanzo, who are both sniper characters that can one-shot, headshot people, it meant that it was really free to get those kills if you could aim, and it also was really frustrating on the receiving end. That one-shots were very frustrating. So what they did was they increased everyone's health and made very few tweaks to damage or healing to compensate. So a lot of characters are now 250 HP instead of 200. Most characters went up by 25 to 100 HP, depending on if you were like a tiny character or a tank or anything like that. So this means that all characters take longer to kill and take longer to heal up, which means that fights are now a little bit slower and take a little bit more like critical thinking in order to get past. So it's not as easy as just, jumping someone's backline and killing them in 2 seconds. Or sniping them from across the map with a log from Hanzo's arrow. It now takes a little bit more thought. So characters like Widowmaker and Hanzo can't one-shot as easily. Specifically Hanzo, if he headshots which makes it easy to clean them up, but it also makes it possible to not die in one shot. So, with the hitbox changes, that makes accuracy a little bit easier, and the health changes that make the time to kill a little bit longer, it makes characters like Hanzo and Widowmaker more consistent. So, you might be hitting more shots, but you're not getting as many one-shot kills. I am a big fan of this, and I've started playing Hanzo a lot more because of it. It felt before like Hanzo was kind of feast or famine. You were either getting a lot of one-shot kills, or you were getting none. And if you weren't very good, it meant that you were getting none, and you were basically a waste. But now, with the hitboxes being quite a bit larger, you land more shots, but you're not getting as many cheesy one-shot kills, which is very, very nice for someone who was not amazing at Hanzo, but really liked his playstyle. So I have gotten a lot better at playing Hanzo, and he's a lot of fun now. So I really, really appreciate that change. The game is just generally a little bit more, I don't want to say forgiving, because it's not, but it means that you have a little bit more time to think and to make up for mistakes. So I guess it is a little bit more forgiving, but it's not, like super casual friendly or anything like people want to say. Like, it's not like, oh, the easiest game ever, where if you are even kind of good, you can stop. No, everyone got those advantages, which means that it's like no one got any advantages. You know what I mean? The next part of the Overwatch changes are the changes to the matchmaker, and specifically competitive. So competitive changed to, in Overwatch 1, when the game first came out, they had an, I believe it was called SR system, where they would give you a number, and then each rank corresponded to a number, like out of, like, from 1,000 to 1,500 was like bronze 1 or something, or bronze, I don't remember how it was in Overwatch 1, but then in Overwatch 2, they got rid of that system, and they just gave you a rank, and then just changed your rank based on how many wins and losses you got in a series of 7 games or something like that. People hated this. It meant that you could not see your progress in between games, so it felt like if you lost a couple games in a row, then the next couple of games were completely worthless, because you knew your rank was going to go down or stay the same. They made that change because they said they didn't want people to feel bad after losing, but it feels just as bad to lose, so they decided to revert that change and bring in a brand new system that I like a lot. So after each game, it gives you a percentage bar of how close you are to increasing your rank or decreasing your rank, and it gives you a percentage of how much you gained or lost that game, and it also gives you the reasons that you gained or lost how much you did. So for example, if the matchmaker predicted that you would win and you lost, you lose a lot more points. If the matchmaker predicted that you were going to lose but you won, then you gain a lot more points. If you're on a winning streak, you gain more points to try to get you to a more accurate rank. If you just completed your placement matches and it's kind of unsure what your rank is, then it makes all of your wins and losses amplified to try to get you to where you need to be. And these skill brackets, I love this change. It doesn't change a ton, like the game is still the same, but it makes it more transparent. It makes it make a lot more sense as to why the game is doing what it's doing, and it just makes it a lot easier to understand, especially for newer players that might need a reason to see why things are happening the way they're happening. I really, really appreciate that change, and it makes Overwatch 2 a lot more enjoyable for me. The last thing that I really want to talk about from Overwatch is the change to Pharah. So Pharah was a character that could fly, and her job was pretty much to sit as high in the skybox as possible and just shoot rockets down at people. And she was amazing when she was paired with Mercy, who was able to fly with her and keep a beam attached to her so she doesn't have to aim to heal or damage boost. So this was called Pharmacy, and it was extremely good in the right hands. It was almost impossible to deal with at hit scan character. So basically a person whose bullets will hit the target the moment you pull the trigger, to mean that you don't have to like lead on your projectiles or anything. So you needed to pick a hit scan in order to defeat them for the most part. And people were really bad at that because the hitboxes were really small and people weren't very good at aiming at lower ranks. So they changed Pharah to make it so she is a lot harder to stay up in the air infinitely, and instead is a lot better at moving horizontally in the air. This makes it to where she is much harder to track with Mercy, but she also has to come down to the ground a lot more often, which makes it easier to heal her as other healers. This was a huge change to Pharah. It makes her a lot more fun to play because she's a lot more movement dependent. It makes her a lot less frustrating to play against because it's now a lot easier to hit her. And it means if you're playing Pharah, you don't have to rely on Mercy as much anymore. So I think all around, this was an amazing rework that kind of flew under the radar. They didn't advertise it very much or show it off very much, but it did its job in making pharmacy not as important in lower ranks. So that's about it for I decided this is just going to be an Overwatch ramble video. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that this was